Hello world, this is weird. Quest for Glory is pretty notable in the history of point-and-click games, but it's, half RPG? Not exactly my usual area. So when the primary creators of the Quest for Glory games, Laurie and Corey Cole, announced a Kickstarter for a new game in the style of their best-known series, I wasn't sure what to expect. A second Kickstarter, for example, I was not expecting that. I only backed the first campaign though. By the time the second one rolled around, I was even less sure of what to expect. Short explanation is, they ran out of funds from the first campaign, hence they did another. Despite the setback, the game actually came out in the form of Hero U, Rogue to Redemption. That's not where the puns end, by the way. The Coles love their puns, so if that's your kryptonite, you're as well turning back now, because it does not let up. Also, for all the talk about Quest for Glory I just did, this game is more based on School for Heroes, which Wikipedia describes as an email-based web game the Coles created previously. It's shut down now, so I couldn't tell you what it was like, but Hero U would appear to be its successor. I had like a quarter of a mind to make this a point and quickie, but that went out the window pretty fast for reasons why I am literally about to explain. So what did we get with Hero U Rogue to Redemption, or HURCHER as I'll call it from now on, except I won't? Well, the game genre this reminds me most of is probably not the one you're expecting. Certainly wasn't the one I was expecting. To me, this plays like a dating sim. Now that'll probably put porn in the minds of many of you, so let me explain. There's a specific type of dating sim I have in mind here, the type where you live out the life of your character. Either by defining a schedule or using a set number of hours to perform actions, you divide your time between wooing potential partners and buffing your stats. Read books to get smarter, exercise to get buffer, work to get money, and so on. Main difference being that these games grew out of visual novels, meaning that despite the pretty pictures, interaction was almost entirely menu based. Granted, a lot of your actions in Hero U are done through a dialogue tree, but more on that later. Also, since I've already brought it up and I don't want to give a false impression, there is no porn in Hero U. There are romance options, but you don't get to see anyone touching butts. There's a few Flash games with that whole life sim no porn approach to them, maybe those are better examples. Anyway, that's about 500 words without telling you anything about the game I'm talking about other than it's a bit like Quest for Glory, so let's get that done, shall we? We open on one Sean O'Connor breaking into a fancy house. He's looking to nick a lucky coin that'll prove himself worthy of joining the local thieves guild. Having succeeded in navigating the desks, bookshelves, fireplaces and cats, he steals away into the night. About 5 feet into the night before being confronted by a mysterious beardo who offers him a choice. The mercy of the town guards or enlist in school. Obviously your only choice is to enlist, the game would be over otherwise, so off you go to Hero U. As the name implies, it's a university for heroes of many forms. Paladins, mages, warriors, none of which you're going to be because the only class you can get into is the Disbarred Bards. Otherwise known as the Rogue class, but you can't really advertise that you're turning young adults into professional pilferers, it's bad PR. This need for secrecy puts a divide between you and the other students, to the point where you even eat your meals at a different time. At least I assume that one line is the excuse they have for you almost never seeing any other students from outside your class. And so begins young Sean's quest to become the bestest disbarred bard the land hath ever known, or at the very least not get kicked out of school. And that is a real pressing concern. You'll be tested at various points throughout the semester to see if you've kept up with your studies. Sometimes it's a test on a certain skill, sometimes it'll be on lectures from class, so your ass better be paying attention. You'll get some warning when these are about to come up, but not a hell of a lot. I'd take some notes if I were you. This is but one item on your to-do list, however. The first priority is getting yourself a uniform. You don't get a uniform, the headmaster gives you demerits. You get 100 demerits, you're gone. Honestly, he's just looking for an excuse to throw you out in your arse. And given that you came here on a vaguely defined scholarship or sponsorship of some kind, you'll need to get the money to buy said uniform yourself. And you buy it from a rat boy no less. That's weird. I guess everybody would be grossed out if you were working in the kitchen. The money earning will either be from helping in the school kitchen or venturing into the long abandoned wine cellar to kill giant bastard rats, and that choice on its own helps determine which path you go down in terms of your skill set. Didn't know culinary arts was part of a rogue skill set, but I guess that's why I'm back at university. Lockpicking, combat, trap disarming, listening, all definitely essential parts of being a rogue that is up to you to foster within yourself. For the most part anyway, some of these skills will improve by, say, responding a certain way in a conversation. Not only that, but it'll affect the opinion your classmates and the staff have of you. Think of the influence system from Knights of the Old Republic 2 and you've got the general idea. Naturally, this is an essential component for wooing that one person you want to do a kissing on, but it's not limited to that. It can also foster both allies and antagonists. And one way or another, you will. Aside from seeking certain folk out and making your best mouth noises, There's times where a response is requested of you, and whatever consequences come of that, you'll need to deal with. There are multiple save slots, by the way. Very useful for when you've spent 4 hours fighting fish monsters in a subterranean cavern, only to run into the headmaster and get 30 demerits for wearing actual armour instead of your uniform. Ugh. Pretty much everything of importance to your career as a rogue you will do through this dialogue interface. You click a thing, you get a list of actions. So maybe it's not as far from those menu-heavy dating sims as I thought. It's a tiny little bit cheap looking, but it opens up the possibilities to a relatively endless degree. As long as you have screen space, you can add options. Don't be surprised if you find yourself listening at every door before you go through it. Not because there might be something stabby on the other side, but because it's an easy way to increase your perception skill. And definitely not because there's someone on the other side of the door who you fancy and you want to see if they're talking about you, because that's creepy as hell when you think about it for more than half a second. The game offers you numerous ways to get good at your various roguey endeavours, outside of the obvious training in the training room paradigm. The first time you improve your climbing skill is likely to be from taking the stairs once too often. That gave me a chuckle. Utilising those skills outside of a practice environment can take you to some interesting places. This old castle holds a lot of secrets. Say you've been in the cellar hunting some giant bastard rats and gotten a bit scratched up. You can only hunt for giant bastard rats in the evening, but the infirmary is only open during the day. Solution? Pick the lock on the infirmary door, break in, steal some instant heal bandages and get back in the fight. Now, combat is where the game differs vastly from the dialogue tree norm. In a very Dungeons and Dragons-esque way, there's a freeform exploration part of the game accompanied by a separate combat part. Combat has a strict set of rules compared to the rest of your life at Hero U, which could see any of 100 options thrown in your face. Here, it's turn-based combat. Move, attack, use items, run away, or stand there like a total plank. Those are your options. Not something you would necessarily call strict on its own, just stricter than everything else you do in the game. You can improve your stop waking up in the infirmary and losing an entire day skill by improving your fighting prowess in the aforementioned training room, getting better equipment, finding some utility items like potions or traps, or by sneaking up on targets to get a backstab in. It's simple, but it works fine. And I got way too much satisfaction from buffing myself up to the point where I could one-shot those giant bastard rats. The game then brought out even gianter bastard rats, but it was nice while it lasted. That is but one path you could take. The skills of the rogue are numerous, and you may be able to resolve a problem with more than one of these skills. Once your journal has a few clues jotted down in it, you can decide for yourself where you want to concentrate your self-improvement. Really, the passage of time is going to be your greatest enemy, as it is for so many of us, every day of our lives. You'll want to do this quest, which is only available at a certain time. You'll want to do this job for money, which you can only do at a certain time. You'll want to go train, but you can't do that because it takes an hour and then you'll be late for dinner, and that's probably bad. If you're exploring the castle and you stay up too late, you'll get shouted at for nodding off in class the next day, and your character sheet will have the word tired on it, and that is also probably bad. A quick nap will sort out that status effect though. And that's before you get the option of taking additional classes. Those will take up another hour of your day. Oddly enough, that's an area where the games of old have an advantage. It feels like less of a grind when you just need to navigate a few menu options to get where you want rather than clicking and running to each location. The game gives you a lot of options, but forces you to start picking and choosing where to focus. It's not a sandbox by any means. And you get enough story events that this will become, well, not a problem exactly, but something you need to consider. Still, once you train yourself up to the point where you can pick that one lock or one-shot the giant bastard rat, it's a pretty satisfying feeling. Point is, you're not going to see everything there is to see in one playthrough. After a while, it occurred to me that I didn't actually know what the goal of the game was. Is it to stay in school, complete a semester? How long do those last? Is it to uncover some ancient secret hidden within these hallowed walls? Is it to find true love and go out adventuring together? Well, I know the answer to one of those now. The semester lasts 50 days. At first the game might seem like an opening section where you define your character before heading off into a life of adventure, and then I remembered what the game was called. Does the title give it all away? Is the sole point here to become a hero? Or a qualified one at least? One worthy of fables, poems, ballads, and merchandise? Well, it's mentioned early on enough that I forgot about it, but you are competing with your fellow students to become Rogue of the Year. Shouldn't that be disbarred Bard of the Year? Anyway, that didn't happen for me in my playthrough, and the game didn't seem to think much of me for it, even suggesting things I could have done differently. So either that's the most importantest goal of all, or the game just has some disappointing endings. Oh well, I got smooches from my pirate queen, so I'm not that broken up about it. As I said, there's enough to do in the game that multiple playthroughs would be necessary to see all of it. Several of the tasks require right place, right time tactics, whereas some need you to train your skills up to a certain level. Essentially, you pick out whatever you fancy and go for it. Whilst trying not to get kicked out of school, best bear that one in mind. There's a certain amount of intrigue you need to get the most out of this game, a willingness to explore and delve beyond the surface. The last thing I'll say is that the price is quite steep, around £30 at the time of writing. Bear in mind that my copy came from back in the original Kickstarter, so it was closer to £15 for me, and £30 still seems like a lot. I simply don't know that there's £30 worth of content in here, especially considering you'll need to play it more than once to see all of that content. If you don't like the game enough to play it more than once, you're not going to get your money's worth. If you want to do your own maths on this one, I took around 17 hours to get to the end. If that's worth 30 quid to you, have at it. And that's pretty much all I have to say on Hero U. This was a lot more of a stream of consciousness script than usual, but I thought it was worth a try. If you have an opinion on this experimental format, please leave a comment. Don't forget that liking, disliking, subscribing, unsubscribing are all options as you so wish, as is supporting the show with money on Patreon. Thank you for watching.